Welcome back to Sledgehammer Horror, guys. I am Ken Sledge. Let's talk horror. Today, I am very, very excited to announce I have Jesus Garcia. He was in Nightmare on Elm Street, among a plethora of other things, doing a lot of work now for the community. How you doing today, man?
I'm pretty good, Kenny. Thank you for inviting me. I'm so glad to be here on Lockdown Corona.
Well, man, there's nowhere else I'd rather have you be, as selfish as that sounds. So like I said, we all know you from Nightmare on Elm Street. Along came Polly as well. What are you doing nowadays? I know things are kind of crazy with Corona, but what are you doing now?
Aging. When you said Along Came Polly, I'm like, wow, that's like 20 years ago. Although I saw a movie last night and I was like, hey, I'd be open to get back into it, but I don't know. What's going to be interesting is, show business needs to open, or it's going to be another killer of industry that'll go down. So what I've been doing, everything changed for me 6 years ago when my good teacher, buddy, friend passed away. I got in a relationship with my fiance, and life changed drastically then. And now life's changing drastically now. It's exponentially, I think that's a word. It's really, it really has flipped it upside down, the world, everything, the way we see it. We had our annual conference. I belong to a spiritual group called MSIA, like any other group, period, that would have an annual meeting, even conventions, even horror conventions. It's all done on Zoom now.
Right.
And it's a trip because the essence of the energy between us carries on. You can't kill that, but it's electronically. It's like Rear Window, Alfred Hitchcock movie. We're in some box,
Right.
and we're transmitting our essence to you because we can't hang out with you and touch you and although I do around my group, we just hang out. We're together. We're responsible, and I cannot not be with someone. So
Right.
I like touching and hugging. That's going to continue on. And
well, I'm glad that you're being safe and responsible about it. For the people that don't know, you've written a couple books we could find on Audible. What can you tell us about those a little bit?
Well, it's The Love of a Master and The Dreams of a Master. The first one is the grieving process of missing someone you love. And I heard you lost your mom. So it's a process that the best thing that I was told in that experience was you need to cry your tears. Heard that part. And it kind of never goes away, but time spaces it out. So you're not like crying every day. You cry like anniversaries. Now I get kind of depressed and anniversary kind of ishness during, that's Easter without him. There's the year there's the year where you do things without that person. It's kind of crazy. This is the first year I will not be with him on all these things. It was wild. And the second book is Dreams. It's funny that I'm a Nightmare on Elm Street, but to go back, I study dreams, been doing that for years. Wes got Nightmare on Elm Street in a dream, and then he wrote it. So dreams are in my book. I state what my teacher talks about. Dreams is where you can grab those things that can be horror or they can be ideas. They could be premonition. They could be all sorts of things.
Sure.
In the
That's
case
awesome.
In the case of Nightmare on Elm Street, it's a premonition. You're going to die.
Right. That's something that none of us want to hear, but we all know is coming.
Yeah.
I used to be terrified of death until, like you said, my mom passed away last year, and when I die, I know it's my time. I know she'll be there So it really eased my fear of, my own mortality, losing my mom, because I know that once I'm gone, she'll be there waiting for me to take me to whatever's next. So
It is a
I don't want to say
beautiful.
I'm excited
It,
for it, but I'm ready
it,
for it.
it is a beautiful process, actually.
Well, I'm excited to read the books. I'm going to put the titles down in the description, guys. If you got Audible, check these books out. If you don't got Audible, get Audible and check these books out. I'm really excited to check them out, man. It's going to be really good. Just came through. Awesome. So we are here, though, to talk about your first horror movie. And the first horror movie that you ever watched was?
uh, it was Carrie, but you and I have been debating. It's Carrie, but I was too young to really get The Exorcist.
Right.
But Carrie messed me up. Like Carrie messed me up as sort of growing up kind of person. As a child, you're just I can't say that Exorcist is the first horror movie. It was the first uh, torture I've ever experienced of what the
Sure.
hell what am I seeing? So I'm totally damaged then. So I would say, as like a conscious, oh, I'm going to go see a horror film, I'd say Carrie is. Carrie was wild. Carrie was John Travolta's my hero. He gets killed in it, and then the hand comes up. Oops,
Yeah.
spoiler.
Well, how old were you when you seen it? Do you remember how old you were, who you were with?
Man, I had to be a teenager, like 19, because Travolta was a no, this had to be earlier because I actually met a lady that worked for him, and he was doing urban cowboy. So I would say, 14, 15-ish, 16, Carrie-ish.
Yeah. So when you think about Carrie, the movie, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you think of the movie?
That abusive mom,
Mm-hmm.
it's crazy because that abusive mom, could make you crazy. And then I really like her psychic powers. That was the bitching part about it,
Yeah.
because that is kind of true to a certain level. People do send each other curses and shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got to, then you kind of reincarnate for that shit when you do that stuff and put hexes on people. But she seemed very innocent, but kind of revengeful at the same time. She probably got she got the nastiness from her mom, because she gets,
Oh yeah.
but it's bullying in the school. They do throw blood on her. She locks up the auditorium, and it's like, get down, Carrie.
Yes. And it's weird
But
because usually when you have something like that, you're not actively rooting for that person. But in Carrie, you're kind of actively rooting for her. Like, yes, get them. Like, that's what
yeah,
they get for being, like, you know what I mean? Like, you feel bad for the teacher, the gym teacher that was trying to comfort her and be there for her. But everybody else, you're like, fuck them. I'm sorry for the language, but you're just like, get them,
yeah. Did she have I forgot, did she have a menstrual cycle problem?
Yep, in the shower. And
Yeah,
all the girls started throwing tampons at her. And then
yeah.
her mom told her it was a sin.
Today, that I don't think that movie would fly today with all the politically correct and sensitive things that people are going through.
Did you
Um,
watch the remake they did?
no, I don't like remakes.
See, I get that. Um,
How
they
was that?
did they did a remake and it wasn't terrible. See, I don't hate remakes. I think if they're done right, they can be okay. But there's so many that are not done right. And Carrie, it was okay, but much like Nightmare on Elm Street, anybody that's watched my channel knows I was not a fan of the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. Um, I think that the first one, and I've talked about this, and I'm not just throwing lip service at you because you're on here. Nightmare on Elm Street 1 is the most iconic horror movie of all time. I mean, I can't tell you how many times as a kid I would do, this is God. Like all the iconic moments in that movie, even Tina getting drug up the wall and you screaming, Tina, like all that. Like that movie to me, even people that aren't horror fans know scenes from Nightmare on Elm Street. Freddy walking with his arms outstretched, the waterbed scene. It's about as perfect of a horror movie as you can get.
Yeah.
So I agree that there are some movies that you don't have to remake. They're perfect the way they were. And the only really difference they made in Carrie is when they're throwing the tampons at her in the shower, they're filming it, they put it on YouTube to embarrass her. So they did modernize it a little
Oh,
bit in
okay,
the
the
Carrie
modern.
remake.
Yeah, because I thought, I'm not going to see remakes. They did remakes. You can't make remakes of classics. I'm not just talking about my films. I'm just talking about everything. You can't make remakes. They're classics. It's like, so what they're trying to do is franchise it. So then they'll just keep doing King Kong every 10 years.
Sure. And that's a discussion we've had on here as well with some other guests. The biggest problem I have with remakes is the studio is going to see a remake or a brand new original film, and they're going to choose that remake, and that original film is not going to ever get the light that it deserves. So we can miss out on what could be the next Nightmare on Elm Street, or what could be the next Ghostbusters, because the studio chose the remake that they know they're going to make the money and franchise on, rather than this bitchin' original idea that may go straight to a streaming service and it doesn't catch on because it didn't get the credit it deserved. So that's where I
Yep.
think remakes, studios will choose a remake over what could be, like you said, a great original idea. So, and that's unfortunate for these guys that put the hard work in on this original idea that could never see the light of day.
Well, it's like we're aging, so they go get the young kids. The young kids is where you make the money, get kids to work in movies again. So we were all young
Mm-hmm.
then, we were 19. So now you get the next generation now to work because there's a lot of movie stars out there, young kids, TV stars.
Oh, sure.
John,
So with Carrie, if you had to choose, what scene do you think affected you the most and why?
the blood being the pig blood on her.
Mm-hmm.
That was like because I had pig. We used to have to kill pigs every year.
Oh,
The Cubans, we Latin America, a pig is a poor man's food, and so you get it just a couple days before Christmas. You gut it, kill it, and ew, and I had to hold buckets of blood while it's screaming for its life. It was horrible.
sure. And then
And
you go to this movie and see the same thing, and it's art imitates reality almost at that point.
I freaked out. I was like, "Oh my God, this
Well,
is
and it's
like."
funny because my personal favorite horror movie of all time is the movie House. I don't know if you remember that movie or not.
No,
But
is that
William Catt, the guy that is the prom date for Carrie, is in that movie as well. And seeing him die from a bucket just dropping on his head was always just kind of like, that's it. It was a bucket. How'd that kill him?
I just flashed. The original Chainsaw Massacre was pretty wild because you
Yeah.
just you just told me about the bucket.
Well, while we're on Texas Chainsaw, real quick, one thing that I honestly, the end of that movie, when you got the girl sitting at the dinner table and she's just screaming for like 15 minutes straight, that is such a gut wrenching scene to watch because they did that in like one or two takes.
Is the old man sucking on her finger for blood?
Yeah.
Oh God,
Yeah.
that was so creepy.
Yeah. And she's just sitting there screaming. I mean, everybody calls Jamie Lee Curtis the Scream Queen, which is well deserved. But man, that girl, that was awesome. That whole scene. See, you talk about the thing I love the most about Texas Chainsaw was they left a lot of that to your imagination. It
Yeah.
wasn't just a gore fest. They wanted you to, let's show the shadow almost Hitchcock style. And you guys can play in your head what actually happens here.
Right, right, right. That's
So,
real good. That's real good horror.
oh, when you don't have to see it, it still scares the hell out of you.
Well, that's
You
why
know,
Nightmare, I think, killed it because the imagination of what can happen to you in your dreams is wild.
yeah. Well, no, there's happening. You guys had, from what I've heard and I've read, I'm not an expert, but you guys didn't have a huge budget for Nightmare. But when you watch that movie, you can't tell that it was a low budget. It looks fantastic, even to this day. The practical effects look good. It's a well done movie. Like I said, to me, it's the most iconic horror movie of all time, hands down, bar none. I don't think you have 90% of the horror movies that are out today if you don't have Nightmare.
Well, the key thing is like it's all about economics with these producers. A low
Mhm.
budget movie is what you want. You don't want a high budget movie. You can't make any money back.
Sure.
So, in my opinion, I don't think they strategized it. How much money can we make back from very little money we put in?
Hmm.
So I thought the budget was fine. These guys are real special effects guys, so there was no CGI. It was
Right.
real. It's real stuff. It's real guys come in. They do real makeup. With,
And if you
little,
ever watch the channel, if you ever get a chance to watch some of the other videos, something you'll hear me talk about a lot, I am a huge, huge fan of practical effects over CGI. Big right here when Freddy comes through the wall in the original one, how he had the latex and they push their face through, compared to the new one where it's all CGI. I'll take that practical effect over this new CGI 100 out of 100 times. It looks better. It looks more real. It's scarier. I don't like the CGI effects that they do. I love the practical effects you guys did on Nightmare, man. It was so good. Such a good movie. I'm going to watch it tonight. Like,
well, I mean, if you look back in 1984, maybe the budget was $1 million. I'm guessing that I think that'd be like 5 million, and that's still a good 6 million. That's still a good budget. And
yeah,
you know, a lot of them. To be honest with you, I produced and co-directed movies. There's a lot of waste in movies, and I think Bob Shea did a great job not wasting money. You know, you get a bunch of young people that want the job, they get okay money, nobody's greedy, and you make a movie and it gets out. You sacrifice a lot to get the movie out. That's the point. And then there are people that do movies just to tap the budget because it's going to pay for their fur coats, their trips. I mean,
sure.
in the 80s, it was crazy. I used to get per diem. I used to get a lot of per diem. You know, producers would get per diem. They can buy cars with the shit. So,
Right.
and everybody flew first class. Now, barely you can get that out of, barely SAG will back you up. Barely the producers will do that for you. But they took care of actors. Nobody suffered. Low budget, in my opinion, if you're getting paid in a movie and you see it through, it's still good. You're getting paid money under union, it's still good money. So I
Right.
don't. Low budget is not like living in the slums of New York and you're working at $15 an hour. I don't feel sorry for actors. Actors, I come from the actors world. We work our butts off. There's no doubt about that. But we get taken care of. We live well. Provided you're not a crazy spender, because that's the problem with a lot of actors is they get that first, it's like rappers, they hit
Yeah.
that album and they think they're going to get that every year, but they just bought a house like MC Hammer and
Mm-hmm.
then it goes bankrupt. So you have to learn to really lower your overhead. And so in terms of low budget, I thought Bob Shea did a great job. That's
And again, this is a movie that I've probably watched. I'd say I've watched Nightmare probably 500 times in my life. No joke. I love Nightmare 4 is probably my favorite of the series, just because to me that's where Freddy kind of goes comedy / horror. But you can't mess with the original. The original to me is the best one out of all of them. 4 would probably be my favorite just because that's the one I watched the most as a kid. That's the one I had the most access to. But Nightmare 1, you guys were perfect, man. Like, you go through that movie.
it's also because Wes directed it and wrote it. I
Mhm.
don't know when they got rid of Wes. You kind of get rid of like Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs created Apple. You get fired. Steve Jobs first got fired. So I'm not saying anything bad about the other versions. I'm
Right.
just, by the way, really big prominent directors came out of the other ones.
Mhm.
So, but it's not Wes Craven. So that's my point. And
Well, I'm glad Wes was able to bring you back for New Nightmare, too. I seen you in there.
yeah, I did a podcast yesterday with someone else. I said my relationship with Wes is I used to gamble for the parts. So when I wanted Vampire in Brooklyn, I played racquetball and beat him. And so he let me but it wasn't fair because he was wearing knee braces and stuff, and he had some injuries. So I was young. I wiped him out so I can be in Vampire. So I did Vampire, and then I negotiated with him for is it the sixth that I'm in?
Yeah. Well, I think it's 7 because I think 6 was Freddy's Dead, and then 7 was New Nightmare.
Freddy's dead. Basically, I told him I'll give you my leather jacket if you put me in the movie, and he did.
That's awesome. Yeah, like I said, when you get to that funeral scene and you see all these people, I'm like, oh, I know that person and that person and that person because I grew up with the Nightmare on Elm Streets, So I remember going to see New Nightmare in the theater, and we're seeing all you guys, but you're playing yourselves. You're not playing your characters that were in the first movie, obviously. But I'm like, oh, I know that person and that person and that person. And it was just such a cool way to bring you guys all back into the fold.
Yeah.
Even Nancy, Heather Langenkamp, bringing her back in and having her play herself. I loved how Wes, he's so creative the way that he did with New Nightmare to bring you guys all back and make it make sense at the same time.
Yeah, I did not get the idea of the plot. It made absolutely no sense, but we broke what they call the wall of, I don't know, the fourth wall.
The fourth wall.
He breaks the fourth wall and goes, "Oh, it was just a joke. Here it is. It's like Game of Thrones."
Yeah.
It wasn't real. It wasn't real, you see?
Right.
But then it is real. And then I was like,
but then it happens,
yeah. You lost me there.
He lost you, and you lost the leather jacket in the deal.
And you know what? It was good to shed, like I talked yesterday, it's the fans like you that made me glad I did the movie. Up until then, I didn't really care about the movie. It's not like I didn't care about it. I didn't know what it did, what it is, until one day, I think Mike Phillip, he's a collector. He and some other kid got me to go to a convention. I went, wow, people, oh my God, people are like, way younger than you, and then babies are watching the movie, and they're going to continue watching it until I'm an old man. And I was
man, the impact that movie has, like I said, it's iconic, man, because you don't have anything else like that out there. You don't have a guy that can come to you in your dreams and kill you, and then you're dead in real life. And that's something that that's something everybody can be scared of.
Yeah, because when you're growing up, they throw you the Beatle collection, so you got to learn all the Beatles. They throw you Led Zeppelin, and then they're throwing you horror films. You got to watch this and this. So in some ways, it's very interesting, the culture that I saw, and I was at that point. Then that's why I say yes. But a long time ago, I was very egotistic of like, I'll never do a convention. I don't even know what those are, and I basically dropped my ego and said, what? I can make that money? And then I'm like, I can make more money in a convention than I can in a day in movie. If I did one scene, which I got to work my butt off, and all I got to do is say hi to people and sign autographs, and I can make more. So I said, yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah, and not only that, but these people are so eager to meet you because you've touched them. Something I shared with you earlier. I don't talk about my mom too much on this channel because she's gone and it's hard for me to bring up. My mom's favorite band was Coheed and Cambria. So when I did the episode with Josh, we talked about her. But my mom, I told you before we did this, she had such a big crush on Rod, man. Like, it's so funny because every time we'd watch the movie, she'd tell us, I'll be quiet whenever you were on the screen, She loved the part where you ran out of the bushes and grabbed Nancy because you didn't have the shirt on. Like, when I watch that movie now, I still kind of think about my mom. So when you agreed to do this, man, it was so huge for me, not just for the channel and for my respect for you, but what you meant to my mom. Even though you never met her, she never met you, you were a big part of her life every time we watched this movie. So even though it's you guys, sometimes it feels like you're just doing something on the screen, you are touching our lives and you mean a lot to us out here. I would 150% not be the dude I am today without the music I listened to growing up and the movies I watched. I mean, like I said, this is God. I used to say that all the time when I was a kid, man. Like, the movies you guys did, it touched me. It changed my life. Even the jokes you guys have in the movie, I woke up with a heart on with your name on it. Oh, my name's got 3 letters. How could you fit that on your John? You know what I mean? Like, that kind of stuff. I still watch that today and I still laugh about it. And those are the type of jokes that I still tell to this day. I feel that's totally influenced from you guys. And I don't mean that in a bad or negative way. I'm proud of the man I am today. And I owe that to a lot of the music I listened to growing up and a lot of the movies I watched. And now I'm so lucky that I get to talk to some of these people that affected my life. Some of the bands I listen to, some other actors I've been doing. I feel so blessed that, again, this may not seem like a big deal to you guys, but I've been nervous about this all day. It's been running through my mind all day. So it means the world to me you guys were willing to come on and talk and share some of your stories.
I'm honored. I'm honored, Ken. Thank you.
Yeah. Anytime, man.
And actors. I'm also a fan, so I'll watch a movie and it affects me. So that's the good thing. If the movie, the book, or something like that lifts you, why not? Why not use it?
Right.
Uh, I got lots of. I'm a big fan to lots of actors. So I was watching Andy Garcia, a friend, in some old movie, and it's fun to watch him. You feel lost and you feel entertained, and it's all good.
And even as a friend, you said, you got a friend that's doing it, and you still, yeah, I love this. I love watching this stuff.
Yeah.
I got one more question for you about Carrie. If you could choose your favorite scene from that movie, what would your favorite scene be and why?
I don't remember a lot, but anything with John Travolta in it. He was like, I wanted to be him so bad. He was like Mr. Sex on. He was cool. He was like,
Right.
I think he went from Welcome Back Carter to Carrie,
Hmm.
and I think who's the blonde girl that he's dating? There's a famous. Uh, Let me see.
I know who you're talking about, but
Anyway, I think he's the popular kid, right? In the school,
yep.
and I think he goes on a date or he's got a cool car.
Oh yeah.
And I kind of Rod Lane is really John Travolta and Vinnie Barbarino. Vinnie. It's like an exaggeration. I'm such a bad actor in it.
No, man, you killed it, dude. It was so good.
But I really wanted to be so bad. Like I wanted to be so much like Travolta and be cool.
Well, man, it worked for me. I think you're the bee's knees, man.
Oh, thank you. I'm just looking at who the actors were. So there was Carrie. There was uh, so there was Piper Laurie. I remember her. By the way, she's in she goes to a lot of conventions. Piper Laurie. I met her, and uh, Sissy Spacek. I got to tell you, I ran into her once. I have been in
Yeah.
love. I have been in love with Sissy for years because when I saw her do Carrie, first of all, I would never date her. Period. After Carrie, uh, it's like I would have told her, "Honey, we're not going out."
Right.
But when I saw her do Coal Miner's Daughter, I
Hmm.
was I was like, "Oh my God!" And then I saw her at some event, and I was like, I've been in love with you forever. And then she did Steel Magnolias, and she's just one of the greatest actresses, underrated actresses I've ever met. Like Sissy's like, by the way, yeah, I'm re-looking at some stuff here. The reason I like it as well, it's made by Brian De Palma. He
Hmm.
he's the he's an opera director essentially. He does Scarface, very dramatic. Carrie, all his movies are just off the hook dramatic. So, you know, Amy Irving, that's the girl.
Okay.
Who, what does she play in it?
I think isn't she the blonde, the bully that
That's
ends
right.
up going?
That's right. So, Nancy Allen, that's it. So it's John Travolta and Nancy Allen. And I had a crush on Nancy Allen. She ends up doing a lot of Brian De Palma movies. So, yeah, that's what I thought. Nancy Allen did all of Brian De Palma movies. He did The Dresser. Do you remember The Dresser or Dress to Kill? And then
See, you
John
had me at Coal Miner's Daughter and Steel Magnolia. I know them, but I
yeah.
don't remember Dress to Kill.
Oh no, I love movies, but yeah, Carrie, the scenes with Travolta are my favorites. And kind of high school, being cool. I knew
Oh yeah.
I think I was in high school around that time. So the funny thing about it is when I did that, hey Nancy, hey Tina, I had a hard on with your name on it.
Yeah.
That was in front of the school that I was going to, the high school that I
Oh
went.
really?
So a lot of the locations were kind of in the LA area where I grew up in a lot of locations. And one was I forgot the school. It's not Marshall, but it's near Marshall. It's Nightingale Junior High School. Nightingale something. Anyway, it was.
Yeah. That's awesome. So you get to say that line while you're walking in front of the high school you go to.
I had gone to. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Thought I'd never be nothing, huh? Well, listen to this line.
Yeah, 1984. That's when it was. That's when we were shooting during the LA Olympics.
Oh, it was probably a busy time down there anyway. Then
it was very busy. We're shooting in the old Desi Arnaz Jr. movie. I Love Lucy set. The old I Love Lucy set. That was
so much history out there, man. That you can always say that you were a part of this.
Well, when I saw Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, that really was. That's like saying that movie was good to say goodbye to it, because that's kind of like what it felt like. But I came in the '80s, he's doing kind of like '60s and '70s. But it was really I think I caught the tail end of it. It was fun. It was risky. Producers would risk young talent. You didn't have to be a name to be in a movie.
Sure.
Now it's like you must have a certain rating. Look at everything's the same. Uber, you need 5 stars, FICO score.
Yep.
And everybody gets downgraded. Oh, I'll take the star away from you. So.
Man, it's crazy listening to you put it that way, because it's so true. Everything is based on a rating nowadays.
Everything's a rating, and it's China. We're following China. They do that all the time. They could destroy somebody. Look at what's that stuff that we look up for restaurants and they rate it. So one rating can kill a restaurant, and I'm terrible.
Yeah, I'm terrible with this too. I've never done it, so I know what you're talking about. It's an app, and you can rate restaurants on it, and people go and check out the ratings that they got. It's really going to bother me.
No, I got
people are watching this right now, screaming it at us.
Huh?
I said people are going to watch this video, and at this point, they're going to be screaming it at us.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Why we're not.
It's I know what you're talking about. Oh, Yelp.
There you go, Yelpers.
So one bad Yelp ruins a restaurant. It's terrible.
I've never been able to judge a restaurant or anything by one visit. You get one bad dish, doesn't mean anything. So you're right. One bad Yelp and that place is done. These people have worked their asses off for this, and it's just gone like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I usually end these episodes with a skull rating. On a scale of skulls, 0 being the worst, 5 being the best, what would you rate Carrie now?
I'm going to hit you with, what would you say, from 1 to 10?
0 to 5.
It's an all-time. I'm going to give it a 4.95 because I'm going to give you some digits on that, because it's not perfect, because nothing is, but Brian De Palma's one of the greatest directors. You have great actors in it. It's a horrific movie, scary as crap. So did she burn at the end and then her hand comes up?
Yep.
Okay. So I'd have to give it a 4.95. There you go.
Still a good rating.
On the skull rating, 4.95.
Well, everybody, thank you for watching. And again, man, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much.
Your mom, love and light to you, and thank you so much. And check out my books. And I do autographs. So if you hit me up, I don't know. I don't know how that works out, but I had photos where it's all ID'd, and I'll send it to you on your.
Yep, and I'll have your Instagram handle and everything down in the description as well, so people can. That's awesome. I'm going to look into that too, because I would like that for myself.
Yeah, I'll send you all the photos. And
anything that you have upcoming, please, if you ever have any updates, let me know so I can let everybody know. This has been an absolute dream come true.
And Sledgehammer Horror, I love you, man.
Not as much as I love you. Thank you so much. I'm going to.